You're watching the Tecno Spark 8 disassembly. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. And if you need any tools, there are links in the description. First, the SIM tray needs to be removed. Next, we need to place the pry tool in between the back housing and the frame of the screen and run it along the edges and pop off the catches. There's some adhesive around the fingerprint reader as well as the camera lens, so gently pry those off when you're lifting up the housing. The back housing itself is plastic. The back camera lens cover itself is held down with adhesive, and it can be replaced by applying heat and gently prying it off. On the top portion of the inside, there is some graphene film which helps transfer heat. There's also antenna flex cables on the top and bottom portion. There is a black protective tape on the top and bottom portion which needs to be peeled off. There are 18 Phillips screws which need to be removed. There's a plastic cover covering the connector for the fingerprint reader which needs to be removed. Now we can disconnect the cable for the fingerprint reader. Once the fingerprint sensor is removed, we can see another Phillips screw underneath which needs to be removed. Now we can lift up and remove the top plastic cover. The glass camera lens covers on this plastic cover can also be replaced by applying heat and gently prying it off. On the other side, we can see this flex cable which has gold contacts on either side, making a connection with the speaker itself and the contacts over here on the main board. Now that we have access to the battery cable, we can go ahead and disconnect it. Now we can proceed to disconnect the rest of the cables. There's a coaxial cable on the bottom corner of the board which needs to be popped off. There are also two Phillips screws holding down the main board which need to be removed. Now we can lift up and remove the main board. The 16 megapixel lens is located on top, followed by the AI lens below it, and the quad LED flash. The flex cable can be disconnected by just popping it off, and there's a liquid damage indicator which is this white sticker over here. There's some more graphene film over this shield, and there's a rubber gasket around this connector. On the other side, the front-facing camera is located on the top center, and the main camera flex cable is on the back as well. There's a proximity sensor on the top corner, as well as two LED flash on either side of the board for the front-facing camera. The SIM card and memory card reader is located here, and there's some thermal paste on top of these shields. Once those shields are removed, we can see more thermal paste on top of the processor, RAM, and this chip over here. The bottom plastic cover can be removed by just lifting it up. And now we have access to disconnecting the other end of the coaxial cable. We can go ahead and disconnect the flex cable on the corner of the subboard. And the vibrator motor on the corner is held on with adhesive and it's also soldered onto the subboard, so we're going to have to gently pry it off. There's one Phillips screw holding the subboard down which needs to be removed. Now the subboard can be lifted up and removed. Once again, the vibrator motor is soldered to the corner of the subboard. Next to that is the headphone jack, the charger port, and the primary microphone, all of which have rubber gaskets around it. There is also another liquid damage indicator, which is this white sticker. And here's a look at the other side. In order to remove the battery, there's an adhesive pull tab on the bottom corner to help us pry it off. If your pull tab happens to break, just like mine did, you can always use some isopropyl alcohol and apply some to the edges of the battery and let it sit there for about a minute so it eats away at the adhesive, making it easier to pry off. Here's a better look at the battery. Once the battery is removed, we can see this flex cable over here, which connects the screen and subboard to the main board. So if you needed to replace your screen, you need to remove the back cover, as well as the screws on the top and bottom plastic cover, and then remove those covers themselves. You'd disconnect this flex cable from the main board, as well as the battery cable. You'd remove the battery, and you'd have to remove the subboard on bottom. At that point, you'd heat up the front of the phone where the screen is to loosen up the adhesive underneath. You'd pry your old screen off, apply new adhesive, reapply the new screen, making sure you route the cable through the opening over here in the mid frame, as well as over here, and then reassemble your phone. The flex cable for the power button and volume keys is located right over here, and the speaker itself is just held on with adhesive, so if you want to remove that, just apply heat and gently pry it off. For the repairability score, I give this phone a 6.5 out of 10. The back cover is easy to remove, but when it comes to removing the screen, there are a number of components which need to be removed in order to gain access to the screen cable itself. Now it's time to put the phone back together. Once all the screws are back in place, reapply your back housing. Flip over the phone, power it on, and you're done. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.